Watch what's approaching, the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
What's good? So I did have a chance to test these guys out on Super Battle Road versus the Extreme stage, and let me tell you, things definitely get a lot easier when these guys are included because of how powerful they are with, you know, their super attack skill sets, whatever. And the category team itself, the last resort team, is actually very, very good and very, very reliable for the lack of better words. But just to provide some clarity, my guy, which is the LR Gogeta Blue, is at 55% potential, whereas my friend lead for the Vegito Blue is at 100% potential. So you are going to see a difference between the 100% version of Vegito versus the 55% of Gogeta. However, even at 55%, Gogeta is still pretty decent. Not quite, you know, full potential, obviously, but still a pretty decent unit. So before we get into some of the stats and skill sets information, definitely make sure to like the video if you enjoy the content. If you're new to the channel, definitely hit the subscribe button. So we'll start off with the Gogeta unit, and honestly, even at 55%, it's still a great unit. I think what helps out a lot with this version is once the transformation takes place, you do get the effective attack against all types, so that definitely does come into play. I think on Super Battle Road setting, it's a little bit difficult to get the transformations active because of the 4-turn restriction on getting these guys transformed. And the way I went about it is it's pretty much, annihilating the enemy as quickly as possible. That's pretty much any approach on Super Battle Road. That's typically the format. But with that being said, I did focus on trying to link up the Agility Super Saiyan Gogeta with the LR Gogeta, and then the TEQ Vegito Blue with the LR Vegito Blue. So that's pretty much kind of how I try to get things set up. However, Battle Road, it's highly unpredictable at times where you can't really always get the right rotations, but you kind of have to force certain things to happen, and in certain tendencies you'll see that. But in a typical run, I would definitely try to pair up, the Gogeta units and the Vegeta units. However, at the same time, both of those LRs link up pretty well together, and it's perfectly okay to have the same units on the same rotation. And I, now that I think about it, on this certain run, I think I actually had these guys, paired up on the same rotation because I didn't want to, force one of them as a floater position to where you don't get as many rotations where they're on it. So I think that's probably up until maybe the latter parts, pretty much how the format was. With that being said, Vegito Blue is definitely a great unit for Battle Road because of the ability for the additional attacks, especially once transformed. You do get that built-in launches an additional super attack, and then basically all sorts of additional skill sets that come into it. Of course, if you do put it in as a third attacker, the skill sets do change a little bit to where you do have the high chance to evade enemy attacks and also launching an additional super attack. However, I do tend to prefer to keep them on the first or second slot just because, the more attacks you get in with those units, the easier life becomes. Of course, when you do have the active skill ability, once you have the enemy's HP below 50% and your HP is also below 50%, you do have the ability to initiate the active skill where you can greatly raise attack and cause ultimate damage. But along with that, you can also activate all the passive skills even if you move them in the first or second slot after the active skill itself. So you basically have like all of those built-in, effective attacks against all types and, whatever. And also at the same time, you have a high chance to evade attacks and launching an additional super attack. But in this case, I really went about it to try and run through it as quickly as possible. So a lot of the focus was on just eliminating the enemy as quickly as possible, and that pretty much tended to lead to not seeing the transformation as much. And that's perfectly okay in a Super Battle Road setting when you're trying to go through it very quickly. You don't necessarily worry too much about the transformation itself. Of course, even without it, these guys are pretty powerful as it is, and they can quickly build up their key meters and you know, attack and defense, what have you. So the other thing that does help is the fact that they do get the ability to raise attack based on the super attack performed, even without the transformation. So the skill sets for the super attack definitely does change once transformed, but before that, you know, depending on how many super attacks you can get in per rotation, yeah, these guys can quickly stack up attack. So that definitely does help. And again, for the most part, you aren't going to see a transformation because of honestly just running through it that quickly. And you'll notice that one of the items that I did bring is the Russian Roulette Takoyaki. So I'm reserving that for the very last battle against Rose and Zamasu. Basically, I'm keeping it for the friendly Vegito to basically maximize the attack against Rose and pretty much try and eliminate him as quickly as possible. So other than that, I think I brought in units, items like the Bulma unit, which is the 25% increase to attack for 2 turns, and then 70% HP recovery. I think I did bring in also the Ghost Usher to clean the field up whenever I didn't see a good rotation where they could tank fairly well. I think the other one was probably I think it was the Android 8. Basically the increased defense by 50% and HP recovery of 70%, I believe. But you know, the thing about Super Battle is you do have to take certain risks because you don't necessarily want to use items when you don't necessarily have to. So I think in this run I did get pretty lucky with, you know, RNG and whatnot. So we did go through the second stage against the Universe Survival Saga units, and we're moving on to the very last battle. Luckily, I didn't have to use any items up until this point in terms of like the second battle, to where my HP is at 69,000, but I could, you know, basically hold off until the battle started here. So with that being said, I am going to use various items to increase attack. Along with that, I am using the Russian Roulette Takoyaki here, basically to deplete Rose's HP as much as possible. So I'm actually going to use both of them. They don't stack necessarily with that 5% increase to attack per, you know, Tech Key Sphere obtained, but I wanted to get as many of the Tech Key Spheres possible based on the attack from Vegito Blue. And obviously this is the very beginning of the battle, so the attack really hasn't built up to this point, but as you can see, still a 5.5 million attack stats, so pretty decent overall, and should be able to apply some pretty decent damage. Yeah, 3.9 million. Unfortunately, the additional super didn't kick in. I think that would have made things a lot easier, but it's okay. This actually worked out as well because Rose super attacked against Vegito, which is going to, you know, minimize the damage quite a bit. I do see a fair amount of damage about to be taken here against Gogeta, but you know, we have plenty of HP left over, so we should be fine. Yeah, roughly about 110,000. So yeah, pretty decent chunk of change of damage right there, but we should be okay. And unfortunately, we didn't eliminate Rose out of the picture just yet, but you know, given the next rotation, we should be fine. And we'll go ahead and use the Ghost Usher because I'm a little bit worried about the couple of units taking some damage from Zamasu, but you know, Tech Vegito obviously is going to do pretty well here. I think hopefully a number of super attacks will activate. At least Rose will be out of the picture at this point, and then we'll just focus on the Intelligence Zamasu unit. And you know, luckily we have the LR Gogeta, which is a type advantage unit, so you know, all those things play a factor, and definitely does help out to a certain degree. So I think we also have Dokkan mode about to activate, so I think I made sure I didn't activate it with these guys and just reserved it for the following units coming up. Of course, the Agility Super Saiyan Gogeta does have effective attack against all types. My guy has level 20 toward additionals and level 6 toward evasion. Unfortunately, on that rotation, he didn't get the additional super attack, but yeah, I mean, pretty much less than 50% HP left over for Zamasu at this point. I'm actually going to give the TEQ Vegito Blue the Dokkan mode activation, even though technically the unit has type disadvantage. The friendly's at 100% potential, whereas my guy, which is Gogeta, is at 55%. So, you know, I figured I would bank on the potential for a critical hit to activate and further maximize the damage. If not, you know, we're okay. But we'll see what happens. And you know, even though Gogeta didn't get enough for the 18 key before the super attack, he does get that key +3, so you're pretty much looking at guaranteed 18 key for the most part if you gather enough key, which is going to, you know, make life a hell of a lot easier. So that is one thing I really do love about these units, is the built-in key increase before the super attack. So that does help out. So yeah, that's pretty much the run with the Super Battle Road Extreme Stage with the Last Resort team. Pretty powerful to say the least, and a lot of fun to run. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.